Hey, what's going on, fight fans? Tim Loy in the house with my man Greg Hopkins and Jeff Hobbs. And it is Wednesday of Fight Week, which means it is time for our visit with the great Cody Saftic. He's going to be joining us in just a minute. We get to break down our pro fights for this weekend's Aries Fight Series 5. It goes down this Friday night from the world famous Cotton Eye Joe, Knoxville, Tennessee. And of course, we're going to be using the odds from our friends at Action 24/7 Sportsbook. Greg, hit him up with the promo deal for Action 24/7. I think it's some free bucks to bet with.
No, right now you can go to Action 24/7, deposit up to $800, and they'll match you a 50% bonus right now if you use promo code Aries. Guys, put you $800, they'll give you back $1,200. You can play with it all weekend.
That's right. Go check it out. They'll have the odds for our pro fights posted as well as the fights for the UFC 272 next week. So I'm pumped for it. Jeff, this is one of our favorite episodes to record. We get to break down the wagering. We don't get to put as much input into things, obviously, as being the owners of the show. But it's always fun to be able to get an outside perspective like Cody's, who doesn't have a dog in any of these fights.
Yeah, like you said, when we were talking earlier, it's so crazy now, having this awesome experience of having Cody join us for these pro shows. We find ourselves even in the matchmaking process now going, yeah, but what would Cody think? What would Cody think of this fight? So it's been a absolute positive influence, I think, on the people that watch us and even on ourselves, having him be a part of it.
And with that, before we bring Cody in, let's have a look at the promo for the fights that we're about to be breaking down this Friday at the Joe. When we come back, Cody will join us. And we're back, and we've got Cody Saftic in the house. Cody, how's it going, my man? We appreciate you joining us as always. It's a big week for you. UFC 272. There's PFL. There's lots of stuff for you to be cramming. So I do appreciate you taking the time to join us for our little old shindig.
Hell yeah, man. Before they get to the UFC, before they get to the PFL, they got to start on a solid regional scene, and they got to get good fights that'll prepare them for those bigger shows. And when you guys brought me on the last time, I'm expecting, some lower level regional scene or some up and coming prospects. And Trevor Peak absolutely delivers. Thoroughly impressed. The guy's got the goods. You look at this card now, and it's got the same vibes. I mean, you look at Robbie Ring. The guy's got a very promising career. 21 years old, undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro. And the good thing for me is I get to watch the tape now. I get to get in the ground level, talk shop with you guys, which I love to do. And by the time they get to those big shows, I know who these guys are. I know what their habits are. I know their characteristics. And hopefully catch some bigger tickets now and some even better ones later down the road. So happy to be here as always, and it's a good-looking card.
Now, Cody, of course, has his own channel, CJ MMA. He's on the Pat Mayo Media Network with the Dog or Pass podcast, and this guy is honestly one of the best in the game when it comes to breakout on UFC. You've been on a heater, Cody, the last 2 weeks. Some real nice returns on your top ticket parlays there. So props to you. Let people know before we get going where they can follow you if they want to tell your place, which I would certainly encourage them to do.
Yeah, if you want to reach out and you want to talk fights, I'm always down. You can reach out at CJ Saftic on Twitter. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. I try to go through YouTube comments and this and that, but I won't lie. Between tape studying for a zillion cards and a zillion fights, it does get a little bit busy. But yeah, I'm usually pretty good on Twitter. And yeah, you can follow along. Bellator, UFC. You don't have to just tail my picks. Just listen to the insight. If it matches up with your thinking, we're on the same page. Let's hammer it, baby. If you completely disagree, that's fine too. May the best man win. But at the end of the day, it's fun when you get these good cards. Last week, it was a heater, buddy. Well, it was a great, and part of what I do is I parlay together because Islam Makhachev 9-1, Arman Sarukian is a -240. We got Jonathan Martinez minus 310. It wasn't even a good price tag, but you got to put some of these bigger guys together. I look at this card. I think, you know what? Aved Mai minus 160, very fair. Robbie Ring, that minus 240, minus 250 range, very fair. We parlay some of these guys together. I think it could be a good show.
No doubt, no doubt. Of course, Greg Hopkins joins us. Greg, you're familiar with a lot of these guys, working with Aries. Now, Cody, we got to tell you, week before last, we had a show down in Macon where we weren't able to get odds on it because it was in Georgia, not in Tennessee. But our very own Greg Hopkins was on that card, and so had we been, he may have been an apple pie shitter for everyone that night, because I think Greg would have been a fairly heavy favorite and didn't have a great performance. However, I got to say, he followed it up that weekend with with his own PRP that he hit. So it was almost like he made up for that missing out on that win bonus. Greg, how's it going, my man?
It's going good. I mean, that's it's a lot of thanks to Cody over there, because I did follow him strictly 100% on there. Just McKinney and then Catch a Beating, the only two. That was just it. And hell for it. But I cashed out at Turman because I got super scared right there, and I cashed out, and it went from a $9 parlay to 2,000 to 619. But dude, I still love him. Still love Cody over there, man. I'll try not to ever shit in anybody's apple pie again. I apologize. But hell yeah, we got a good week coming up right here. Let's get into it, brother.
Let's get into it. So we got 3 pro fights we're going to break down. We start off in the featherweight division. We've got 2 pro debuts going at it, but 2 guys with pretty similar amateur records. It's going to be Ava Mai, the Kurdish King Ava Mai, taking on Austin Carter. Now, Ava Mai, of course, is the favorite here at minus 160 against Austin Carter, who is plus 130. The total on this one is 2.5 rounds set to the over, is juiced to the over, minus 150, and the under plus 110. Cody, definitely interested to get your opinion on this. Ava Mai is a guy that he kind of came up through our amateur scene, and then he had a couple years away. So it'll be interesting to see how this time off has done him. He's a young and developing fighter, so one would think that he may be making improvements still over these couple years.
Yeah, no, that's what I would think. I mean, he's only 23 years old. The last time we saw him, he was 21, and he looked pretty good for a 21-year-old. So 2 years off, on one hand, a lot of people want to talk about ring rust. On the other hand, people don't mention the time in the gym, and he's at a pretty good camp at Henzo Gracie, Tennessee, so no reason to think that he's not getting in solid reps, improving all around. Physically, the guy's definitely there. His wrestling pretty good as well. Really liked his last amateur fight against Tyler Stevens. I mean, the guy's a 5-1 prospect, and you see with Mai, he's very strong, he's very physical, but he will stand in the pocket and exchange with you. Not just 1-2 though. He likes to throw 3-punch combinations, finishes off with a big left hook, will push his opponent back towards the cage, and that's when he gets his wrestling going. He's physically strong in the clinch. He's able to just kind of control that flow against the cage. But then when he blasts double, he'll push and pull you off that cage, establish good position, rain down a little bit of ground and pound. It's a solid victory as far as I'm concerned. The the Jacob Sandin fight before that, a little bit different because he's getting the positions he wants, but Sandin's just throwing up a ton of submission attempts. So it's a difficult fight to score. He wins a split decision, but again, this is all 2 years ago, and I like his striking. I like his wrestling. Cardio looks pretty good. You can tell that he seems fairly durable, hasn't been finished in a long time, and the 2 times he'd been finished was that Bellator NASCAR series, which those are awesome events, by the way, but pretty grand staging. It's finished by a super legit prospect, and the loss prior to that, Ammon Cosby, same thing, another legit prospect. He does show a majority victory over AJ Cunningham. That can't hurt. I think that there's a lot to like. In the 2 years off, I would think that he's just going to come back a more developed fighter. The flip side to that with Austin Carter is he's already 30 years old. He's making his professional debut a little bit later, but at the same time, this is going to be a more refined version of him. I can confirm this fight's at 145 pounds, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Austin Carter's last number have been at 135. So again, at 30 years old, I would see he's jumping up the weight class and fighting up at 145. He has fought at 145 in the past, but of course his last 2 have been at bantamweight. I would think he's more of a bantamweight. Whereas the Kurdish King over here, the last time we saw him, he's fighting at 135 pounds. The 2 years off for a 21-year-old to a 23-year-old and the frame he had to begin with, he's just going to fill out, be bigger and stronger. I'd be interested in seeing him at weigh-ins before I locked in a solid bet, but at minus 160, I think that this kid's a solid enough prospect for a guy making his professional debut.
No doubt. Ava's the guy that has in the past, he struggled, I think, to get to that. He's made 135 himself, but he was really struggling to get there. It was
I don't
quite a
doubt it.
cut for him,
Yeah.
So I do expect him to be the bigger guy at 145. Jeff, you're a guy that's familiar with Ava Mai, of course, coming from your neck of the woods. It's been a couple of years since we've seen him. Your quick thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think Cody hit the nail on the head there when he said, this guy may be out of the cage for 2 years, but he's not been out of the gym. And we were more surprised when we asked for, promo photos to be sent in, uh, watching his body transform from a kid to a man. He's thickened up. His body has filled in quite a bit. So he's physically matured a lot since we saw him last. What I'm most interested in, we call him the Kurdish King, but he definitely has that Prince Nassim feel to him, because when we last saw him, he can be pretty brash and put on a show for the fans. So I'm really excited about it. He's going to have to understand too, at 30 years old, his opponent's got that mystic man strength too. But I think I love this fight. I think the odds are spot on. I can't wait to see the return of Ava Mai come Friday night.
Greg, wrap us up on this one.
I just see there's a little bit of value on the under 2.5, because if you look at Carter's career as an amateur, those are 3-minute rounds, and hardly ever went the distance. Maybe once, maybe twice if it did. And you go to look at Ava's, his tapology. He's went the distance quite a few times. I think he's going to be more durable here, and I think he could probably get a finish later in the fight, like maybe in the third round. But that's where I see value right there. Is under 2.5 plus 10.5 plus 110.
All right, co-main event. Records are deceiving on this one. This fight, you're going to look at these guys' records. You're going to be like, man, these guys aren't any good. But it's actually a really interesting style match. I'm very curious to get Cody's take on it. This is going to be at 155 pounds, lightweight action. It's going to be Alex the Trojan Riggs taking on Corey Delaney. Alex Riggs, 2-3 coming into this fight. Corey Delaney, 2-5. Riggs is the slight favorite, minus 120, with Delaney coming back at plus 100. Even money on Delaney. They got the total set at 1.5. The over 1.5 is plus 10. The under 1.5 juice to minus 150. That over 1.5 to me looks kind of tasty at plus money here. But Cody, I'll let you lead us off here. Of course, both these guys, upside down, but have fought pretty tough competition. Delaney's fought a murderer's row, and Riggs, of course, we talked about him last time you were on the show. He was supposed to fight Andrew Havener. The COVID got a hold of Havener, so not really much has changed on Riggs's front from when we last spoke to you about him, except for a longer training camp. Of course, he's there at Shield Systems with our boy Scott Holtzman. I'm repping the Scott Holtzman hot sauce hat today, by the way. Shout out to him. Cody, let's get to it.
Yeah, Corey Delaney's 2-5 as a pro, and he doesn't have a very pretty looking boxing record as well, but you wouldn't want to run into this guy in an alleyway. My God. I mean, he's still a very dangerous opponent. He hits very hard. His thing is that he seems to only be a 2-3 minute fighter, and after that danger kind of falls off. If he's going to clip you, he's going to knock you out, okay, but beyond that, him getting stretched is kind of a problem. You mentioned Murder's Row, and it's a good way of putting it, man, because he is okay with signing on the dotted line and showing up to the dance. He's fought Curtis Hill as his pro boxing career, Curtis Hill, Nikita Abley. In his pro career, he's fought Vyacheslav Borshev, who's now in the UFC, Weston Wilson, David Robbins his last time out. But again, in those fights, it's usually quick finish. I mean, because he's been spending so much time in his pro boxing record, in his pro boxing career, I don't know how much time he's been spending grappling. And a guy like David Robbins, he's a BJJ black belt. He runs his own academy. Like, you can't make mistakes with a guy like that. And he kind of just he falls on top of Robbins. He does get a takedown, I suppose, but why would you want the takedown? I don't know. You're a boxer. Why not keep this fight standing? As soon as the fight hits the ground, Robbins just immediately sets up a slow motion triangle in which Corey never seen it coming. The fight prior to that, Weston Wilson armbar, a little over 40 seconds into the first round, his grappling's not quite there. His striking's there, but when you carry that much muscle and you sling those kind of punches, because he sits down a lot of his punches and he pushes them, he's not snapping them, it exerts a lot of energy, he just gets tired. So here's the interesting thing with Alex Riggs. Again, another guy that shows a 2-3 record, and it might not look pretty, but he's a tough sumbitch. He hasn't been knocked out in 8 years. He does get beat here and there, but you really got to beat the boy. I mean, he's here to party. and he can take some decent damage. And I think that's going to be the key. I don't think the early going against Corey Delaney is going to go all that well. Delaney's a lot more athletic. He's a lot more muscular. He's probably got a slight striking advantage early. But once you put the pressure on him, you put the heat on him, that's when he's going to melt. And when he melts, Riggs should be able to take over. And you mentioned he's fought in good guys as well, and he has. And he's also a career training partner for just some of the best guys in the state, right? So day to day, he takes his lumps and he's used to surviving. I got to survive. Because you know how it is when you're in the gym against a guy that's much better than you. You got no shot. But sometimes it's like the longer you roll, the longer you grapple, the longer you train, that's when you start to find the advantage. That's Riggs's key here. His key here is hopefully the fight goes over 1.5, and then he should be able to take over and get the victory. So it's an even money fight. I mean, it's basically a pick 'em either side. But I would go with Alex Riggs. And of course, he was supposed to fight on Aries FC3. His opponent ended up having some COVID issues, so the fight got scrapped. So this is an extended training camp for him, and he's chomping at the bit, ready to go, I bet.
Greg, what you got on this one? This is one where, you've seen both these guys up close and personal.
Yeah, the closer we get to this one, I'm more excited about it. Cody hit the nail on the head again right there with Corey Delaney. But the only thing I can see in his last couple of fights with David, for instance, like when he took him down, like David, these guys are welcoming the takedown. They want to go to the ground. Alex Riggs isn't wanting really to go to the ground, I wouldn't believe. So in a perfect world, we do want to see a boxing and a kickboxer go at it right here. But I want to see Corey try to get the takedown and Alex fight it off and see if it tires down Delaney. And then in the later, and not even in the later rounds, maybe the end of the first, early second, you can maybe see Alex Riggs finish that off right there. However, like he said, there is that option for the one hitter quitter right there with Corey. So I don't know. My pick is also Alex Riggs, but however, there's gonna be fireworks in this one regardless.
Jeff, this is one where, in my opinion, Corey is known more for having quick hands and athleticism and being explosive. But for whatever reason, he's going for takedowns against guys where he really probably shouldn't be taking these guys down. They, like Greg says, they welcome it. These guys are more than comfortable off their back. I don't know that that's really Riggs here. I think Riggs is going to want to stand and bang with him. I don't think Riggs is going to more or less be using any sort of BJJ to get up, than more so than to find a submission, I would think. So this is one that I think if we could get to the second round, it could become one of those fun kind of grueling affairs where one guy's kind of going this way, one guy's kind of going this way, and we'll see where they meet in the middle.
Yeah, I see a lot of ebbs and flows in this fight. Should it play out very long, like Greg said. In most cases, guys are welcoming Delaney to take this to the ground. I agree. I don't think Riggs is there too, but Riggs has also shown some really good takedown defense the last few times we've seen him. So even if Delaney tries, I'm not real sure if he's going to be able to get him there. So I imagine this is going to be a fan-friendly fight, for us. Cody had mentioned that Riggs was chomping at the bit to get back in there. Riggs fans are chomping at the bit after that last one that they didn't get fulfilled. And all of them, either held their tickets or they've repurchased. So they're chomping at the bit. So I think we're going to have a good crowd participation with this one. And we know Corey Delaney's team always comes strong when they come in. So if their fans don't make it, enough of their teammates do to make it sound like a big crowd for him. So I see a lot of ebbs and flows. This one could be really fun for the fans.
And I also like what Cody pointed out is that Riggs is a guy that he's essentially having to improve just to survive in that room with Holtzman, Damir Frotbegovic. These guys are animals, and he's their training partner. And so, talking to his coach, Ben Harrison, all the time, he's like, man, like, we've got to get Riggs something. He's in here. He's been in here, really getting put through the ringer with these guys, and I need to reward him with a fight, So he's a guy that I really have seen so much improvement from him over the last, say, 2-3 years. He's really leveled up. So his record is deceiving. Main event time. All right, so we got bantamweights, guys. These are two undefeated bantamweights. We've got Razor Robbie Ring, 3-0, coming out of Ring Combat Sports up in Whitfield, Virginia, taking on Dusty Featherfoot Little. Dusty is quite the character. He on Tapology, it lists him still without a pro record, but he did win his pro debut about 3 weeks ago down at the Bayou Fighting Championships. He knocked off 3-2 Abe Sellers that night. So even though it's not listed, Dusty is a 1-0 pro. Really interested to get Cody's take here. These guys are very on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to like personality and style. These guys are very different, but both at the same time, undefeated and carrying that O in there. So they're going to be very urgent to defend it.
Yeah, this is a fun fight. This is a very fun fight, fun pro debut for both guys. And when Robbie Ring, when you first sent me over some notes, you're like, oh, and this is a headline in the card, Robbie Ring. I thought immediately, like, Robbie Ring, good name. Sounds like a good name. Hopefully he's a good fighter, right? And then I hear it's Razor Robbie Ring. I said, Razor Robbie Ring. I like the kid already. 21 years old, undefeated as an amateur. His parents own the gym, right? It's a family business. And this guy's grinding, and he's one of the instructors at the gym. That's going to be a problem long-term down the road because, eventually he'll have to start getting pushed. But let me tell you something about this Ring Combat Sports out of Virginia. This is what their amateur team features. Micah Sheffy, 14-8. How many guys got 22 amateur fights? That's very rare. It's experience. Ray Holston, 13-8. Super experience. Austin Cooper, 10-0. Logan Hurley, 7-4. Keith Goins, 6-0. Tyler Caldwell, 6-0. CJ Burleson, 6-3. David Brewer, 4-0. Oh my God, he's got a lot of bodies to work with. And at 21 years old, he's going to benefit from all of them. So there's no need to go to an American Top Team or a Sanford MMA at this point. You're still going to be growing within the confines of your own space. And that's exactly what's happening here. Both of his parents, career martial artists, like I said, family business. The kid's been doing it his entire life. And you see the results are showing. Now, as an amateur, he had some tough fights. He was forced to go to the decision, right? We'd like to see him fight multiple rounds. How's his cardio going to hold up? You assume good because he's 21 years old. But again, when you fight a full-grown man and they got to hold another level of strength on you, it does get a little bit taxing. When you start getting pressure because you're undefeated and there's family, friends, and mom and dad got a little bit of expectation on you, you just don't know how a young kid's going to, fight off all of those different elements. But yeah, as an amateur, he looked good. Submission game looked good. Cardio looked good. His athleticism was pretty good. Good footwork, solid striking. And then as a pro, there's just nothing to really take away. 16-second knockout, 13-second knockout, 37-second referee stoppage due to strikes. Yeah, he's just rolled through opponents. But I like what I see out of him, and I think that he's probably got a very bright future in the sport. I mean, he's the kind of guy at 3-0 now. If he knocks off a couple more wins, maybe gets to 22, 23 years old and a 6-0, 7-0 record, Contender Series is right there. Something like the Ultimate Fighter is going to be right there. There's so many organizations now between Bellator and PFL and so many opportunities for young fighters. This kid's going to get snapped up. Now, Dusty Lane's going to be the guy that's going to try to stand in the way of all that. But Dusty Lane, I don't know him, right? But his record, you can tell this man's a character. Outside of his pro debut, which he just won by knockout, imagine this. Seth Gregory, triangle choke. Fight before, triangle choke. Fight before was a leg injury. Before that, he loses by rear naked. He loses by rear naked. 2 triangle choke wins, 2 rear naked choke losses. Before that, he wins by triangle choke, right? And then he loses by rear naked choke. Before that, he wins by triangle choke. Then he actually loses by triangle choke to Abe Sellers, the guy he recently just knocked out, I believe, right? No. This is hilarious, man. So he's going to go out there and he's going to give you a performance. But the thing with the triangle choke is it's set up off your back, meaning you're getting taken down. And in his case, he's getting taken down more oftentimes than not, but he's able to throw the thing up. When they wilt him, when they give him a little bit of ground and pound, force him to turtle up, force him to give up his back, they slink in the rear naked choke. I would think with a guy like Razor Robbie, he's got a good Bravo choke. You see that as an amateur. He likes to attack the neck here and there. But beyond that, I think he'll have the striking advantage. He'll have the wrestling advantage. And his grappling is going to be good enough to keep him out of the bad spots. But of course, pro debut, 21 years old, Cotton Eye Joe. The pressure could get to him. You never know, right? You fight for a reason, right? You do it for a reason because you never know what's going to happen. And even though this kid looks the part and he's minus 240 and I like the price tag and I'd be hitting that. I will be hitting that. It's MMA, boys. You just never know. But I will tell you something. If Razor Robbie loses, I got a feeling it'll be by triangle choke because that's just what Dusty Little, it's his go-to move, right?
Greg, there's no doubt that Dusty Little is, he's one of the, you may not even realize he's a fighter if you happen upon him at the Joe. No. He's very unassuming character, but a pleasure to be around all the same. And, Featherfoot is coming in confident. I've talked to him, he's confident he's going to come in here and get this win. Obviously, Robbie Ringside is also very confident. That's a bit of Robbie's been kind of groomed for this at this point, his whole life.
I love Robbie Ring right there, but I want to speak a little bit on Dustin Little right there. I mean, like Cody said, this is a fight, so buyer beware right now. And I'm just going to say, like, Robbie's, all his pro opponents, they say they might be the bottom of the barrel. But here's the thing: is he's starching these guys in 15 seconds, so it really doesn't make a fuck. Like, I mean, you're killing them, you're putting them out. So now Dusty Little is making his step up here. He's not just your average, like you're talking about. He's got a personality. He's hilarious. I like Dusty Little. I'm a fan of him. Very unassuming. And when he fought Seth Gregory in his last amateur fight right there, Gregory was a wrestler coming out of Cleveland, Tennessee, which is, real respected. And for the first part of the fight, Seth Gregory was like, trying to wrestle, and he was able to, negate that right there. And I'm just wondering if he's going to be able to do the same to Robbie Ring in this fight, because I mean, just like everybody's saying, it's a fight. I'm curious. I might sparkle a little on Dustin Little, just a little, but I mean, Robbie Ring is the pick, but I'm going to look at the under and over there, and I'd like to see the weigh-ins on that one too. But again, like, you wouldn't see this guy walking down the street and think that he was a professional MMA fighter. I'm telling you, he is a character. I hope we get to talk to him on the mic afterwards. That's a fun matchup right there.
Jeff, wrap us up.
Yeah, Cody, one thing I know Tapology probably didn't put on there is you talk about this guy, Dusty, being a character. Let's see, his post-fight interview was dedicated to Betty White.
Yeah, right.
He walked out to "Thank you for being a friend," the theme to the Golden Girls. But again, the pressure of being at home. I mean, the guy checked out 100 tickets. It's in his hometown. There's a lot of pressure there. But I have to lean towards, the theme of this is where Robbie Ring is at right now in his career and where he's probably going. I have to stay away from betting. But if I had to lean one way, I think everybody would agree that Robbie Ring very deservingly is the favorite in this fight. But Dusty has got that sneakiness in him. He is the guy. We've seen it with Tim, with Nate Lindsay, kind of one of the same, kind of fighters where he's always going to be overpowered. He's always, he's never going to be the stronger fighter. He's going to get taken down at will. And it kind of lulls your opponent into thinking you've got complete control of this fight. And next thing you know, you're in a triangle choke. You're in an arm bar, and you never saw it coming. So I think Dusty has definitely got that on his side. And while I lean Robbie Ring, I would not be surprised if Dusty Little pulled something out of his ass.
No doubt that these three fights should all be fairly entertaining. I think that all three fights should be, action-packed for the fans. Once again, that is going down on Spectation Sports. If you can't be there live at the Cotton Eye Joe, you can watch on Spectation Sports and catch all the action for Friday night at Aries Fight Series 5. Cody Saftic, we appreciate you joining us, man. This is always a pleasure. We got some bigger things potentially in the works. Hopefully by the end of the summer, we can talk about where we'll have some fights that you'll have. Even I won't have to give you notes even so much. Hopefully you'll know some of these guys. So we got some things in the works here. Always a pleasure having Greg and Jeff with us. And we will you do us a big favor if you give us a subscribe and a like to our channel down there. We're still in the infancy phases of this new promotion, so we're still trying to get those numbers up. And give Cody a follow as well at on his YouTube channel, CJ MMA, and catch him on the Mayo Media Network. And he's always got some great insights on the UFC. For Jeff Hobbs, for Greg Hopkins, for Cody Saftic, I'm Tim Loy, and we're signing off. Appreciate you guys joining us out there. Cody, thanks a bunch, man. Hopefully we'll see you again here in April.
Hell yeah, man. I'd love to join you guys. As always, love talking fights. And I've actually got Dogger Pass to shoot in about 28 minutes. However, who cares what I got to say? Follow Greg, 11-0, man. Good stuff. I don't agree with the Priscilla Cachoeira decision, my friend.
No.
However, good stuff, man. Terrence McKinney looked like $1 million. My pleasure to be on the show. Good luck. I'll be watching. And may all the fighters be safe.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch y'all next time.